So they are about to approve a budget, and y'all weren't even there, the residents.
Raise your hand if you knew there was a budget meeting on Saturday, because from the looks of it, most folks had no clue. But guess who acted brand new? Yep, Tiffany, up there pretending like the whole thing was a surprise to her too. She straight up asked the crowd if they knew about it, playing innocent, like she ain't the one supposed to be in charge of communication. But then, turns out, some folks did know. So what is it, girl? You surprised, or you just acting? She stays switching lanes without using a signal. One minute she's clueless, the next she's calling shots. And baby, I had to go dig deep in the archive just to bring y'all this little gem. A moment where Tiffany herself was mad about secret squirrel meetings. Yes, those were her exact words. She was heated. Except those weren't secret meetings at all. They were just the regular scheduled ones that she wasn't showing up to. Imagine being mad about a party you were invited to but didn't attend. That's Tiffany Logic.on. It gets better. They even went ahead and appointed a stand-in mayor, usually one of the trustees, because she was out here ghosting her responsibilities. And who? She did not like that. That power shift, that temporary crown. Baby, it burned her soul. Now don't get me wrong, she is the youngest black woman to ever hold the mayor's seat in Dalton. That part is true. She did put the town on the radar. Kinda. So much so that when she dipped out for a hot minute, the next pope might as well have been picked from her block, right down the street from all this mess. Like, what is happening in this town? So let's talk about this meeting. Tiffany swore she didn't know about. She's up there doing the whole dramatic gasp, like, oh wow, a budget meeting. Nobody told me. But the crowd, yeah, they weren't buying it. People in the room literally said they did know. So what are we doing here? You the mayor, girl, why you acting like the intern? This whole budget meeting went down at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, which, let's be honest, was probably designed exactly so most people wouldn't show. Like, who's at a village budget meeting before brunch? Not only that, they started breezing through line items with zero explanation, no context, no details, just, approve this, cut that, move along. It was shady on shady. And yes, full violations of multiple laws. But the trustees, they just went with it, like it was totally normal. And the kicker, they ran the whole thing over Zoom, even though there were people in the building in real life. Like, y'all had actual bodies and seats but still chose virtual. Why? Because during that Zoom, folks were literally drawing weird little threats and posting dumb stuff about Tiffany in the chat. Grown people, on public record. It was a mess. But here's the part that really kills me. Tiffany acts like she's been the one keeping things open and transparent. But baby, the facts say otherwise. Y'all remember when the audience clapped back at her? When someone said, she didn't even let people inside. And the whole room was like, exactly. Because yeah, she was literally locking people out of Village Hall. Deadbolts. People couldn't even walk in. So what did the trustees do? They started holding meetings outside. In the cold, on the lawn. Or over Zoom. Not because they wanted to, but because the building was on lockdown. But then Tiffany got up there, like, no, I let y'all in before you held the meetings outside. Girl, stop. That's not how time works. Nobody chooses to hold government meetings on the sidewalk. That's not democracy. That's a cookout with paperwork. And get this, she claimed they called a meeting on the 21st and went virtual while people were there in person. Like, why would they do that? Oh right, because she wouldn't let them in the damn building. So yeah, when folks say she was locking people out, they're not lying. That's why meetings went remote or outdoors. That's what actually happened. But she keeps spinning it like she's the one being victimized. Ma'am, no. And the real reason she was tight about that Saturday meeting. Because the trustees weren't just talking budget, they were also talking about replacing her. Yup, they had already picked a new mayor. That's temporary mayor. For those who don't speak petty politics, don't now she's big mad. Cause while she was out here doing her own thing, they gave some other dude the authority to make decisions while she's still technically holding the title. That's what pro tempore means. You out, he in, for now. And baby, the way she hated that, you could feel it through the screen. So, let me clear something up. I was available for the meeting. I wasn't off the grid. I wasn't in another state. I was present, meaning I could have been there. But was I allowed inside? Nope, denied. So let's go ahead and mark that down as line number 1. I wasn't absent. I was blocked. I mean, no, I wasn't physically standing at the door. But I was very much alive and aware that morning, and I got an email at 9:15 a.m. about that meeting. So miss me with that you didn't show up narrative. They knew I was probably going to miss it, so they sent that email late just so they could say, well, we notified her. Please, not now. Mind you, this is a budget approval meeting. We're talking about big stuff, major cuts, and regular residents weren't even invited. So Tiffany gets up and hits the crowd with, did any of y'all know about the meeting? Baby, she walked right into it, because the audience, I answered lad yes. Multiple people said yes, but what does she do? Pretends like that didn't happen. Oh, just 3 of y'all. That's it. No ma'am, it wasn't just 3. That room had people in it. I didn't hear a single voice say no. I didn't know. All I heard was yes, 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 but she acts shocked, like wait, 3 people knew. Girl, it was more than 3. Just because 200 other residents weren't packed into that one room doesn't mean people didn't know. Don't twist it. That 9:15 email. That wasn't them doing the right thing. That was a last-minute cover-your-ass message sent because they knew she wasn't coming. And they wanted to say, well, we tried to tell her. Nah. And the fact she tries to spin that like that was the only way she could have known. That's a strange little hill to die on. You're lying. But weirdly, anyway, shout out to the residents who did show up. Y'all saw the nonsense firsthand. Now let's talk about this so-called transparency. Because if you watch that clip again, it's obvious. What exactly did they approve? Like, did anyone break it down? No, they just read line items off a sheet. That's not transparency. That's just bureaucracy with a mic. Here's a real example. In this budget, there were line items for things like vehicle licenses and liquor licenses. Simple stuff, but get this. During her whole year and a half as mayor, Tiffany didn't issue a single liquor license. Not one. Not because the applicants were shady or the paperwork wasn't in order. Nah, just because she personally doesn't like them. She literally said, I don't want that in my community. Ma'am, it's not about you. And here's the irony. They reduced the liquor license revenue in the budget from $95,000 to $70,000. So now we're losing money because you don't like liquor, you don't even drink, and still acting hungover. And don't get me started on her little boyfriend. Kamal, sir looks like he smells like straight up skunk cabbage and sour grapes. Like the kind of dude you can smell through the screen. But sure, she's worried about liquor. Meanwhile, he over there rolling up devil's lettuce in a village-issued hoodie. The truth is, she didn't issue liquor licenses because she didn't want to. Not because anyone failed background checks. Not because anyone had a shady business. She just blocked it. So of course, there's no nightlife, no restaurants with bars, no lounges, nothing. You think people are gonna keep tolerating all this wild behavior and be sober the whole time? Girl, please. Maybe if a few folks had a drink in hand, they could have ignored the nonsense for a little longer. But sober. You ruined their nerves and their weekends. That's where she really lost them. Okay, now let's talk about some of the actual budget cuts. Because baby, they were slicing through numbers like a clearance sale. Fire recovery revenue slashed from $75,000 down to $20,000. Fines dropped from $25,000 to $15,000. And bond loan proceeds, yeah, those went from $1.2 million to $1.1 million. You know what that is? That's them slowly peeling back what I like to call the Tiffany tax. That extra little sprinkle she added onto everything. Gone. They're removing it like expired seasoning. And you know what that tells me? She don't have supporters. She has people who are tired of her. And listen, remember that moment. She boldly claimed nobody knew about the budget meeting, like she was revealing some secret conspiracy. Then she turns and asks the room, did anyone know about it? And what happens? 3 people instantly say yes. And she fumbles, like, oh, just 3 of y'all, ma'am. You just said nobody. Like, what are we doing here? Which one is it? Tiff, you're playing both sides of the fence and still managing to land in a ditch. You saying a lot of words, but somehow still saying nothing, and honestly, that's your whole brand. Just full paragraphs of confusion. It's giving TED Talk with no topic. Now me, I had to share it. I just had to, because when I see something that funny, I'm not gonna sit on it. I'm gonna bring it to the front porch, put a mic on it, and let the whole neighborhood hear it. That's just how I work. Tiffany thinks she's being clever, and look, in some ways, she is. But she forgot one important thing. Know your audience. You don't walk into a room full of residents, ask a bold question, and not already know how they're gonna answer. Baby, that's politics 101. Do a poll, run a group chat, consult your auntie, something, because when you just start asking questions off vibes, that's how you end up exposed. That's how you end up on here. So there I was again, picking up the pieces, sweeping up the foolishness, trying to make sense of nonsense. But I'm not gonna get dragged into it today. Nope, I refuse. Mama's got boundaries. Mama's tip of the day, know your audience before you open your mouth. And if you made it this far, drop a 7 in the comments. Lucky number 7, so I know who my real ones are. I've been feeling a little meh lately, so let me see my people. Let me feel the love. Boost my little spirit. Mama loves y'all. Yes, she do.